Hello! Welcome to a new series I'm starting where I combine every version of Monopoly into a single grotesque monolith to capitalism. I'm Robotics5 and today I'm combining a dozen different versions of Monopoly. If you've watched Massacre Mansion's series on the UNO Amalgam, also known as Chemicards, then you know exactly how this is going to end up. If you somehow haven't watched it, go ahead and do that right after this video. So first up we have Standard Monopoly, specifically the modern Standard Monopoly. There are only a few things I'll point out here. 1. Players start with 1,500 Monopoly dollars. 2. There are 16 chance cards and 16 community chest cards. 3. Modern Monopoly editions include the speed die as an optional mechanic, but I'll cover its effects later in this video. And 4. Free parking has nothing special about it. It's a blank space, for now. Our second quote-unquote edition is Retro Monopoly. I'm using this term to refer to any features removed from modern editions. This includes chance cards, community chest cards, and various tokens. Oh, and a quick note here on tokens. I will not be including a list of every token from every version. However, it is worth knowing the color of the tokens. In most versions of Monopoly, they're silver. We'll talk more about that later. One more thing I'll point out about Retro Monopoly is the money grab card. You throw a bunch of hundreds in the air and everyone gets to keep any to cash. Horrible for keeping the money from getting wrinkled, but certainly a fun touch of chaos. Now, on to our first unique edition, Monopoly the Mega Edition. Right off the bat, the board has been expanded with one new property for each color group. On top of this, there's also a third utility, gas company, and a bus stop. This is the part where I talk about the speed die again. In Mega Edition, the speed die is numbered 1 through 3, as well as having a bus icon and 2 Mr. Monopoly icons. You roll the speed die along with the regular dice, and any number it lands on is added to your roll. The bus icons, both the die and the bus stop space, cause you to draw a bus card from the bus card pile. That's right, this edition adds a third draw pile, and it won't be the last one added in this video. When you have a bus card, you may play it in place of rolling, and advance your token to any space on your current side of the board, corners included. Take note of this side distinction, it will come up again later. Bus cards are also discarded once used, not reshuffled. Mega Edition comes with 2 other spaces as well, a birthday gift where you either gain $100 or a bus ticket, and the auction space. If you land on the auction space, pick an unknown property and put it up for auction. Whichever player bids the highest receives the property, same as usual. If every property is owned, you instead advance to the property with the highest rent that you don't own. This edition also has at least 1 new chance card, so please let me know if you have any information on those. This edition also adds 2 more types of building, depots, which allow you to increase the rent of the railroad it's on, and skyscrapers, an upgrade to hotels that require you to own the full color group. Meanwhile, houses and hotels can be placed even if you own all but one of the color group. Now there are 2 other minor details of this edition. Number 1, players start with $2,500 instead of $1,500. Where does the added 1,000 comes from? The second minor addition, the new $1,000 bill. And you know what gets even better? Our second Monopoly edition, Monopoly the Mega Deluxe Edition. Mega Deluxe Edition, not to be confused with regular Mega Edition, is identical in almost every way besides the aesthetic, except for one thing. All of the bills are 100 times larger. That's right, the smallest denomination is now $100 and the largest is 100,000. For the sake of clarity, I will be multiplying all numbers after I finish combining the rest of the editions. With that out of the way, let's move on to another small one. Number 3, Monopoly 85th Anniversary Edition. This edition doesn't have any unique mechanics, but it is worth knowing that the pieces in it are gold, which is important due to edition number 4, Monopoly Super Electronic Banking Edition. Now you might be asking yourself, what happened to Monopoly Regular Electronic Banking Edition? Well, it's identical to regular Monopoly, except that the money is replaced with plastic cards and the bank is instead a device called the Electronic Banking Unit, or EBU for short. If any of you have watched the aforementioned UNO Amalgam series, this may bring to mind another acronym, BUG. A bug is a piece of big, useless garbage, a device that is wholly unnecessary for a game mechanic other than to artificially increase the price of a given edition. In this case, I can fully skip the EBU in favor of keeping the various denominations of paper money. Moving on, the most notable feature of Super Electronic Banking Edition is its 4 playable tokens, yellow, blue, white, and red. In addition to their unique coloration, each token has a special ability. Yellow receives $50 whenever they roll a 6. Blue can use flight spaces for free. We'll get to those in a sec. White/gray, depends on who you ask, receives $50 whenever they land on a chance space. And red receives $50 if they're the first to purchase a property from a given color group. So, on to spaces. This edition has two unique ones. The flight space, where you spend $100 to move to any other property without passing go. As previously mentioned, the blue player can do this for free if they land here. The second space in this edition is a forced trade space. When you land on this space, you may exchange one of your properties for one owned by another player. The other player cannot refuse this trade. This edition also has 20 chance cards as opposed to the usual 16, so if anyone actually has this edition and could let me know if there are any unique chance cards, let me know. Another quirk of this edition is that there is only one die. I will not be implementing any mechanics that reduce the number of dice or cards, but it does have a side effect. If you roll a 6, you can leave jail for free. This edition also gives us our first end condition. That's right, Monopoly finally has a way of ending, and believe me, this won't be the last end condition. In Super Electronic Banking Edition, if all properties are owned, regardless of who owns them, the game ends. The winner is whoever has the most money, but we'll go into more detail on that later. The next edition is Monopoly Ultimate Banking Edition, and once again, this edition has an electronic banking unit we'll be ignoring. It has 4 color tokens again, but this time it adds green to the mix, foregoing yellow, and none of them have abilities. A new mechanic in this edition is Neighbors. The 2 properties adjacent to any property are neighbors, and this ignores any non-property spaces between them. I wish I knew more about how this is used, but unfortunately I can't find any information on this edition's chance cards. If you have any information, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe subscribe while you're down there. Moving on, rent and houses have had major overhauls. When you buy a property, it immediately has a house on it, but you can only have a single house on it anyways. Instead of multiple houses, the placement of the house on the property indicates its rent level. This edition lacks hotels, but I'm going to make it so hotels work in the same way, being placed on the appropriate rent level but doubling it. Skyscrapers triple the rent cost. Rent comes in 5 levels, starting at 1. Every time another player lands on your property, its rent level increases by 1. If the rest of the properties in this color group are bought by other players, it increases by 2. If you buy the rest of the properties in this group, its rent level increases by 3. Yikes, good thing players start with the extra 1,000, huh? On top of this, rent level and hotels transfer the property if you trade or lose it. Yes, you can lose properties, we'll get into that later. Anyways, Ultimate Banking Edition also affects how the jail works. Bail now costs $100 instead of $50, and you can't bid on auctions while in jail. And wouldn't you know it, but this edition also has its own end condition, bankruptcy. If any player goes bankrupt, the game ends. Well, that was a long one. Let's move on to a very short one, Monopoly Junior 1990 edition. There is one mechanic in this, and it's that you must pay a whole $3 when you go to jail, and leave it on free parking. Any player that lands on free parking can take this money. Okay, that's enough short editions. Let's get to one of the harder ones, Monopoly Cheaters Edition. You may be familiar with this one. You may even be quite upset by it. While I will not be adding the cheats from this edition, I will be adapting them to better suit the monolith. All cheats you can normally do will instead be added to a 4th draw pile on the board, the cheat card pile. I told you there would be a 4th pile by the end of this episode, and here it is. Every card in this pile is kept until you use it, similar to how get out jail free cards work. Whenever you land on a cheat space, a new space I'm adding solely for this mechanic, you draw a cheat card from the pile. These are all essentially just toned down versions of the cheats from the regular game with no benefit or detriment being caught or not. Cheats such as skipping paying rent, stealing another player's property, or taking $300 instead of $200 in passing go. All of these cards are one-time use and, just like bus cards, do not go back into the pile. Cheers Edition actually does have a few interesting mechanics, but one of its biggest problems is the handcuff that jail players must wear. This is not only another bug we need to squash, but one that's uncomfortable and frankly disruptive to the game. Instead, while a player is in jail, they must hold one arm behind their back. Simple. As for interesting mechanics, you may draw a chance, community chest, or cheat card when you land on free parking. Additionally, when you land on owned railroad, after paying rent, you move to the next railroad. You do not pay rent at the second railroad. This edition also modifies one of the existing end conditions. Now, when all properties have been purchased, everyone finishes one last lap around the board until they hit go, and they do not continue past. Then each player collects rent from their properties from the bank. Neat. Edition number 8, Monopoly Lord of the Rings Edition. This edition's unique mechanic, the One Ring, is a unique token that doubles as an end condition. Every time a player rolls a 1 on a die, it advances 1 space forwards, or 2 spaces if snake eyes are rolled. Due to the speed die, I'll also be adding that advances 3 spaces if triple 1s are rolled. Once the One Ring reaches the final property on the board, the game ends. This was also an optional mechanic in Monopoly's SpongeBob SquarePants edition, with Plankton in place of the One Ring. Due to this, I'll be referring to this piece as the evil token from now on. If a player lands on an unowned property with the evil token on it, they may purchase it for free, but if the property is owned, they must pay double. Another quick addition is number 9, Monopoly Here and Now edition. This edition changes exactly one thing. All monetary denominations are now 10,000 times the normal value. Combine that with the previous 100 times from Mega Deluxe edition, and now all bills are 1 million times their original value. Lovely. And now we get to one of the big ones. Well, in terms of board size at least. At a staggering 96 spaces long is Monopoly Longest Game Ever edition. First off, there are now twice as many of every existing and future space, and the board now has a total of 8 sides. Because of this, each property now has 2 copies. If you buy one, you own both. However, rent levels only apply to the individual space, as do hotels, skyscrapers, and depots. On your turn, you may swap buildings between the 2 copies. That's about it for the longest game ever, except for a few small changes. 1. You can stay in jail as long as you want without needing to pay bail. 2. The first person to land on free parking receives $500. Oh, and one more thing. Since there are now 2 income tax spaces, one of them will instead function using retro Monopoly rules. You can either pay $200 or 10% of your money. Edition number 11, and believe me, this is a good one. Monopoly Builders. Remember our good old friend colored tokens? Well, they're back in 4 colors again. This time purple takes the place of white. These tokens do not have any unique abilities except for one thing. When anyone rolls a 6, you gain 2 resources of the same color as your token. That's right, we've added resource management to Monopoly. And what do you use these resources for? Towers! There are 4 colors of resources used to construct towers, simply called buildings in the original. I've renamed them to avoid confusion. How do you get these resources? Well, in addition to anyone rolling a 6, your properties also give you specific resources when specific numbers are rolled. The better the property, the more common the roll. For example, Park Place gives you 2 green resources if anyone rolls a 7, meanwhile Mediterranean Avenue gives 2 red resources on a 12. Towers themselves can only be built on your turn, but you can build as many floors as you have resources for on that turn. The location is not relevant in the original. For the sake of convenience, I'm going to give 1 tower plot to each color group and its copy. You must have all or all but one of the properties in order to build the tower. These are also specific to the individual copy and can transfer the properties to, same as hotels and skyscrapers. And what do these towers do exactly? Well, that leads us to yet another end condition, and our first interesting win condition too. Towers have 4 floors, with a 5th floor called a penthouse. There is only 1 penthouse piece, and if it's constructed, the game ends. But constructing it doesn't make you win. For that, you need to have the most builder points. Once the game ends, you receive a number of builder points based on your towers and a few other factors. In the case of towers, this depends on size. Towers with only 1 floor only give 1 builder point, 2 floors gives 3, 3 floors gives 4, 4 floors gives 10, and if you're the one who built the penthouse, that tower gives 16. But robotics, I hear you saying, aren't those big plastic towers just bugs? And to that I say, probably. So instead, I'll be adapting these into cards, where you layer the cards to make the towers. Additionally, you receive 3 builder points if you have the most money at the end of the game, and 5 if you have the largest neighborhood, meaning the longest stretch of adjacent owned properties. This works under the same rules as Neighbors from Mega Edition, where it skips non-properties and corners. You also receive points for having monopolies on color groups, 2 for brown or light blue, 3 for magenta or orange, 4 for red or yellow, and 5 for green or blue. Money is used as a tiebreaker if needed. This edition also comes with several new spaces, as well as a new free parking rule. If you land on free parking, you can exchange 2 resources for any 1 resource. I'm adding this alongside card drawing as one of the options to pick from. Additionally, you can trade 4 resources for any 1 resource from the bank during your turn. As for spaces, there is 1 space per cutter that gives 2 resources out of that cutter when you land on it. Due to Monopoly Longest Game Ever, there are now 2 of these. I will not be specifying this duplication for future spaces. There are also Steal Resource spaces that allow you to take 1 resource from their player, and a Roll for Resource space that gives you a color of resource determined by a roll. Now back to those player tokens. We have 4 from Super Electronic Banking that have abilities, and never 2 that don't. I've combined gold with yellow and silver with white to get us down to 6 total. For the remaining 2 cutters, green and purple, I'm adding abilities to match the rest. Purple, being from Builder Edition, allows you to swap 2 resources for any 2 other resources when on free parking, instead of the usual 2 for 1. Meanwhile, green, being from Ultimate Banking, causes your rent level to start at 2 for your first property in a cutter group. Hopefully these are in line with the rest of the abilities. Additionally, I will be adding 2 more cutters of resource to match. As for other builder rules, it is specified that auctions must start at $10 and increase by at least $5 each time. Keep in mind this will instead be $10 and $5 million respectively once the other additions are factored in. Additionally, this edition has 10 unique chance cards from what I can tell, however I only know of 2 of them. Let me know in the comments if you have any info on the other 8. First off is the Never Get Out Jail Free card, which I will not be adding. Next is a Forced Trade card, not to be confused with the space in Super Electronic Banking Edition. In this case, you swap 1 of your resources with another player's. Now may be a good time to mention that you can only hold 6 resources at a time. If you have more than 6 at the start of your turn, you must drop them on your token's current space. Any player that lands on these resources may take them. And I believe that wraps up Monopoly Builder Edition, the second to last on our list. As for our final entry for today, we have edition number 12, Monopoly Secret Vault Edition. And would you look at that, another bug. If you guess the right number, it will give you a reward. The reward in question is a large sum of money, a key, and a hotel, which leads me to another quirk of this edition. You can no longer buy hotels. That's right, from now on hotels can only be obtained from the vault. On top of this, Secret Vault Edition allows you to place a second hotel on each property. To make this work with the existing rent level system, placing a second hotel on a property replaces both hotels with a skyscraper, meaning those can only be acquired through the vault as well. This also adds an additional layer of strategy to building placement. In Secret Vault Edition, 1 die has a vault symbol in place of a number. If you roll that symbol, you enter a guess into the vault. However, for the sake of convenience, I will instead be replacing one of the Mr. Monopoly symbols on the speed die with the vault symbol. If the vault symbol is rolled, you open the vault and roll 1 regular die to determine the outcome. Roll 1 to 5, nothing happens. If you roll a 6, however, you receive a hotel, a key, and all of the vault money. The vault money has a $400 starting value and can be increased through various means. Given how uncommon this is, there's a good chance it will be a lot. Of course, you can still only place hotels and skyscrapers on cutter groups you own enough of, but if you can't, then just keep it until later. As for keys, there are several properties on the board that are locked, meaning you can only purchase them if you have a key, even if the evil token is on it. This uses up the key. However, with the copies from Monopoly Longest Game Ever, I don't plan to ever place a lock on both copies of the property. Just like hotels and skyscrapers, there's a limited number of keys. Additionally, this edition adds 2 more unique spaces, the Pay to Guess space and the Guess for Free space. Both of them act as if you rolled a vault symbol, but one of them is optional and costs $100. Additionally, luxury tax in this edition costs $400, and that amount is added to the vault money. Because there are 2 luxury tax spaces, only one of them will have this effect. And that's not all, jail is also being changed again. If you pay the bail of $100 to get out of jail, that money goes straight to the vault money pile. And not only that, but Go is changing too. Now you receive 400 when you pass Go, and the bank adds $100 to the vault money each time. Additionally, free parking now allows you to access the vault as if you rolled a vault symbol. This will be an additional option alongside drawing a card or exchanging resources. It's also mentioned that various chance cards can increase the vault money, so any information on those would be appreciated. With all of this cash, the rent levels from Ultimate Banking Edition are starting to balance out, and it doesn't stop there. The $2,500 starting money from Mega Edition has been replaced by a $3,000 starting value from Secret Vault Edition. That wraps it up for the new editions, but there are also a few editions that will not be added to this Monopoly monolith, some of them already mentioned. The rejected versions are Monopoly Mega Gold Edition, Monopoly Mega Black Edition, Monopoly SpongeBob SquarePants Edition, Monopoly Electronic Banking Edition, Monopoly 80th Anniversary Edition, and Monopoly Neon Pop Edition. A couple of quick notes on those last two. The 80th Anniversary Edition has brass tokens, and Neon Pop Edition has orange tokens. I'm very tempted to combine these as a single new color, but I'm not sure it's worth it to have a 7th type of resource for building towers, as well as coming up with a 7th token ability. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. In the next episode, whenever that is, one of the upcoming editions is Monopoly Chance, which could potentially have synergy with Builder Edition and Neon Pop Edition, but we'll see. Feel free to suggest other editions too. Additionally, any info on the chance cards from Secret Vault, Builders, Ultimate Banking, and Mega Editions would be much appreciated. Anyways, that's all for today. I've been Robox5, and I hope you have a great day.